Hey everybody, this is Sensei Anthony coming to you with another episode of the Karate Chronicles, the Friday Night Legacy Edition. Here with my pop, Sensei Bobby Thomas. And normally, I just throw some stuff out there at my pop and we kind of go from there. But this time, he had an idea. And today we're going to talk about Mushin. Pop, start us off. When you say
Mushin.
Mushin, what are you talking about?
Um, when you respond to a situation, you don't have a plan, you just respond.
Okay.
Because if you have to stop and think about what you're going to do, you're already
Yeah,
done. You're
yeah.
already done. You just go ahead and do what you got to do. And the problem is that we always focus on techniques that are already laid out. That's great in the dojo, but
Uh-huh.
when it comes to actually doing it, the person's not going to help you. They're not going to assist you in their demise. You know what I'm saying? You
And
know.
then I'm just going to stand there and let you.
Right. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So what you do is you just respond. That part that tells you that you're in danger will automatically tell you what best to do. If it's necessary for a side kick, excuse me, a back fist, uh, or just moving back out of the way, or ducking low, or falling to the ground, or falling to the floor to get out of the way or something, to roll out of the way. And the only way to do that, the best way to do that, is to not say, "Well, I have a plan. If the person does this, I'm going to do that." No.
Yeah.
Do something. It's better to do something and live than do nothing and die. You see? So if a person, say, out of the nowhere grabs you, there's no technique, secret technique for something like that. You know, what you want to do is
Right.
disrupt the person's motion, disrupt their movement,
It's
and
funny
then go from there.
because people, especially Westerners, when they hear Mushin, you try to explain that to them, they kind of think of it the same thing as reflexes. And I go, reflex always to me seems defensive or reactionary after
Yeah.
the fact. It's never, what I used to tell people to the best of my ability was I would say Mushin is a reaction without the anchor of your conscious thought going, what do we do here?
Right,
And
right,
it
right,
almost kind
right,
of sounds
right.
like reflexes, almost, but reflexes is kind of like, if someone puts their hands in your face, you'll blink and look away.
Mhm,
But I've
mhm.
always thought as Mushin is like, maybe if a person is, let's say you're in between two cars and someone's walking towards you,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Mushin may make you step in and throw the front kick as opposed to maybe, like, it doesn't mean that you have to wait for them to do whatever they're going to
No,
do. It's
no,
like
not at all.
like there's an aspect of threat assessment in it. I
Mhm,
think more than just reflex. Because the reflex is like someone catches you slipping and you're kind of
mhm,
doing all this kind of
mhm,
stuff. But I
mhm.
think that Mushin has an element of threat assessment in it.
Um, yeah, threat assessment. It's like your primal sense. Your primal sense tells you what to do when you do it. It's like this. You see a bottle or something's about ready to fall. You catch it. You don't think about it.
Right.
Should I grab it this way? Should I grab it that way? You just
Right.
grab
Right. Right. Right.
it. And then that way, the response to the stimulus. You see, you're responding to a stimulus.
Right.
You know, and if it causes for an inward block or a low block or a palm heel or a punch or whatever the case may be, you just do it. You
Right.
know,
Right. Right.
the problem with all the fancy techniques and all that kind of stuff, man. And there's other ways to shorten that. Let's say someone grabs you by your lapel. Well, okay, well we know kimono grab, that's fine. But is there something quicker that you can do other than kimono grab? You say you got thunder and hammer. Well, there's something you can do quicker than that. I'm gonna take the guy down. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to spend all of my time doing this, and the guy's not gonna stand there.
Right.
You know. So if you take half that technique, inward block, punch to the ribs, hammer fist to the back of the neck, and kick him in the ribs. You know, But
Yeah.
don't think about doing that. Just do
Do
something.
something.
And believe me, your sense of survival will get the point across.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was talking to Jenny earlier. We were literally talking about the value of self-defense techniques. I said
Mhm.
that's when you walk in with a blank slate and
Mhm.
someone grabs you and you don't know what to do at all.
Mhm.
So you say,
Mhm.
okay, look, come on, grab B, pin, come underneath.
Mhm.
At least that gives you an idea and it also kind of gets your muscles used to moving in different ways.
Right.
Because the one thing about boxers is that they have four punches and they can throw them in a bunch of different combinations, but outside that realm,
Mhm.
they could be vulnerable to a bunch of different stuff: kicks,
Right.
takedowns,
Right.
throws,
Right. Right.
weapons.
Right.
People talk about how valuable. Like this, I was talking to this guy once, and he was a Muay Thai boxer,
Mhm.
and he said a Muay Thai we get in there, we just do this, and this. I said, gotcha. I said, so where in your Muay Thai training? And he was a competitive fighter. I said, where in
Mhm.
your Muay Thai training tells you what to do if someone swings a bat at you?
Yeah.
You may
Yeah.
instinctively block in the same way that you would in the ring and get
That's
yourself
right. That's
splattered.
right. That's right.
Um, I've seen it before. I've seen MMA guys who train in boxing. With boxing gloves, you can catch those punches
Mhm.
on your
Mhm.
gloves.
Mhm.
When Chuck Liddell first taught Tito Ortiz, he's throwing punches at him, and Tito Ortiz the exact same thing. He put his hands up like you would with boxing gloves, but those little 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell hit him right in the ear, and
Yeah.
dropped him.
Yeah.
I mean, Stone Cold dropped
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So I think that self-defense techniques are kind of what you do as a framework, and then you kind of
You whittle it down from there,
right,
and you make it sharper. The less the less energy you expend, the better off you are. So that means that the sharper your technique has to be. So, if you have a weapon, you don't want to fire all 6 rounds.
right,
Hey, when one or
trying to
two may do it, you know what I'm saying?
right.
If you know what you're doing, you know what I'm saying?
You know what's interesting about that though, and you've been saying that a long time.
Mhm.
But I've talked to other people. I was talking to Ross about it, and he's
Mhm.
like, you know what? You hit this dude and just keep firing until he's down. I go, but you're particularly athletic. It's
Right.
like, how about you just hit him a few times, maybe in resets, so that you have full power on your next set of attacks
Mhm.
if you need them.
Mhm.
And he's coming from the place of, well, maybe that set won't get him down or put him down or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, that kind of boils down to your practicing. I think people that have a sport fighting background, they don't see the value of just standing there and throwing 100 front kicks at a time because they're saying, well, in the ring you can't do that. It's like, yeah, but the ring is limiting though.
Yeah, we don't care about what they do in the ring. The ring is look. You go in the ring, you win a nice little trophy, you win a little paycheck, you know, and you and your opponent go out and have a couple of drinks and celebrate.
Right, right,
Win or lose, you're good.
right,
You know, but in the street, you can't afford to lose. You
right.
see, so it's the tenacity, the desire, the will to win because that means you live another day.
Right.
You know, so it comes right down to that primal sense, that one spot.
That's why I think that that kind of repetition is so important.
Very, very much.
Um, in the old days, you just did hundreds of kicks and hundreds of punches,
Yep, yep.
and people look at that like I don't know. It's almost like they think that kind of training is archaic because
No.
they go, you don't have to build strength to do that. You can lift weights. I go, but that doesn't make you a better martial artist though.
Right,
If you ask me,
right.
would I be able to bench press 300 pounds or spend a
Mm-hmm.
whole day throwing reverse punches? I'd spend my day throwing reverse punches because
Mm-hmm.
you're refining that skill so that
Right,
you only have to hit the dude one time. So you hit
right,
him right in the solar plexus.
right,
Bam!
right.
And that is like,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
that's it,
Mm-hmm.
And you
Exactly.
look at those old school guys, you look at their hands, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, man, their knuckles look
Mm-hmm.
like plums. That's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
from 40 years of reverse punching a makiwara and just,
Right,
it's
right.
it's almost like people feel like if you do something in the good old fashioned way that you're shorting yourself or something. It's kind of like the idea of you go to college but you only take one subject.
Yeah,
And, they're trying to tell you you have to take humanities and this.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine,
yeah.
but sometimes one subject is enough. If you want to be an engineer, If you don't want to take Spanish, you
Focus
shouldn't
on
have to.
focus on engineering. If you're
Right.
gonna be an engineer, why do you want to be an artist?
Right.
You
And
know?
that's why I think that that kind of repetition kind of fits into the Mushin idea because it's like as soon as it was applicable, bam,
Right.
got him.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
you didn't square up, you didn't,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
I hear people talk about throwing jabs like a sport jab. You use a jab to set up. I'm like, in a
Jab
fight,
to
you
set
ain't
it up?
setting up nothing. I'm
No.
like,
No.
shotgun jab. I go, if you're
Mhm.
a boxing fan, look at Larry Holmes. He didn't set
Mhm.
up nothing with the Holmes hammer, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Yeah.
bam! It's like he,
And it was over with.
yeah.
It was over.
Remember that welterweight Ike Corte?
Mhm. Mhm.
I tell
Mhm.
people he's the first person I ever saw beat Oscar De La Hoya but not get the victory. He
Right.
jabbed that dude to death,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
like, bam!
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't that setup. I go,
Mhm.
when you do that kind of repetition, your ability to respond
Mhm.
with an applicable technique of
Right.
some variety. It
Right.
may be a front snap kick, maybe a forward side kick, and maybe a back knuckle, but
Mhm.
whatever it is,
Mhm.
I think, like I said, I think Mushin has that part of threat assessment. Where it's like, okay, he's in range, and as soon as he is, bam,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's not reflex.
No.
You know,
No.
that's
You know the uh, the understanding that your life is in danger. You know, so it's that primal sense. I'm gonna get in here and do what I gotta do. You don't know what you're doing. You don't hear anything. You don't see anything.
right.
All you know is that you are focused on taking that person or persons out.
Mm-hmm.
Done. You don't care about style. You don't care about degree. You don't care about belt and all that nonsense. You know what you care about is getting that person out of the way. You know
right.
that's the most important thing. You know, so if I were to, so all of a sudden someone grabs you by the shoulder. You know, you don't turn around and say, oh, listen now. Oh no, grab me this way. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
No, you have what you have, and you work with what you have. You know, so that means if you knock the arm away, if you get a chance to grab the arm, what can you do from there?
Right.
So that's why it's important. You learn boxing technique, judo, aikido, and jiu-jitsu, and how to kick. So you try to cover as much as you can,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and then let it flow, let it go,
That's the part
you
that I
know.
think people really don't get. They think that you get the ability to flow from repetition in the sense of, like, you know, the way boxers work pads or
Mhm.
kickboxers work pads. And in the sporting contest, it seems like they would have an advantage over traditional martial arts in their mind.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but that dude's been throwing that same kick and that same punch forever.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
I read somewhere once that Funakoshi, one of his senior students, told him, or was told, he goes, you know, I feel like I'm really getting the hang of this reverse punch, you know? And they've been like 40 years since he's been training.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that dude only has to hit you once. I
That's
mean,
right.
I
That's
mean, he
right.
is lightning fast. I mean,
That's what you want to do. You don't want to have to throw 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 punches. That tire you out after a while. You know. So
mm-hmm.
that's why if your body is strong, you throw that back fist. You follow up with your opposite hand, and if it need be, you throw a kick. That's what that should be what you need.
Right.
Because when you engage 100%. You
Yeah.
see, hey,
Yeah.
you're done, pal, and you don't have to repeat it.
Right.
Your hands and your feet say everything. Your actions say everything. You
Mm-hmm.
don't remember what you did. You just did it.
right.
You know, and when people see and feel the intensity and the seriousness of what what you did, or what you're going to do, they know. Hey, I'm a dead man if I mess around with this guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think people would be better served if they did a kind of training where they're surrounded and somebody does something and they just have to respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, unfortunately, that kind of idea, you know, in MMA gyms, they call, you know, the Iron Man and the Bull. They try to give it all these different names to make it seem like it's more extreme than it is.
Well, take the sport aspect out of training. We're talking about self-defense. We're talking about saving your life. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
care about a trophy. My life is my trophy.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So I want to save that. I want to preserve that. So that's why I practice that back fist and that snap kick in that right hand. or back fist, right hand, hook and side kick.
Right.
You know, over and over and over and over. Back fist, stomp the foot, uppercut and the hook. You know,
Mm-hmm.
those are the kind of things that you want to get into. You know, and no matter if you, when you're teaching, you have to teach a person according to their size. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a person who is not as tall as I am or you can't do the same thing. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? But the intensity is always the same because you're fighting for your life or your loved
Yes.
ones.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know, so if someone was to, you know, imagine how hard you would fight if you're trying to save the life of your parents or your child or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's that most dangerous situation you can ever be in. Messing somebody's kids or somebody's parents.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
dead.
Oh yeah.
You're dead because it breaches a principle. See,
Mm-hmm.
breaches a principle. And so when someone says, "Hey, you know, you need to step off. You need to go about your business,"
Listen to him.
listen to them. Listen to them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think that's where the fundamentals training come in.
Mhm.
It's like as soon as he steps in, my first instinct was bam, kick him with a front kick.
Right.
And
Right.
even if you can't put a person down, it's like I tell the kids. I say you throw in sets of three, bam, 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 and then finish with a kick. I
Mhm.
said you may not have to go in after them because when you start throwing these extended combinations, you start to lose power, you start to wear yourself out.
Right.
So if you have to hit them again, bam, 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 either
Right.
step in and reset, or you know maybe step back and let this person think about do they really want this problem. They just took they just took three punches and a kick, and they're no closer to harming you now than they were before. And now they don't have the element of surprise. Now the person's looking at
Mhm.
you. You know, it's like
Mhm. Mhm. Do you want to continue? Are you serious or delirious? Which one do you want to do? You know.
it's like I'm willing to let this go at this point if you are. You know, it's like
Right.
we can do this if you want to, but
Right.
you know, I think what
Right.
does that for people is just repetition of the basics.
Repetition of the basics. Excellent. Excellent point. Excellent. You can't get around it.
Right,
Jab, shot to the throat. That's
right,
it. You know, and again, depending on where you hit the person. You know, you hit them in the shoulder, you know, you hit somebody in the throat, or punch them in the nose, or punch them on the tip of the chin,
oof,
you know,
temple.
temple, you know, or a kick in the jewelry box, and yeah, you know, or cup the ear,
Oh
you
God,
know,
that hurts.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah. So those are the kind of things that you want to focus on.
and just like you said, like cuffing the ear, that's something that people don't think about. I think
Hmm.
sometimes people they get like we were talking about, they want to whittle down to the the stuff they know works. So they
Right.
end up what they end up doing is just becoming boxers, but not they become boxing heavy, as
Yeah.
if the other hand strikes of martial arts weren't equally vicious.
Well,
You know.
well, they don't. The art of boxing is not familiar with that. Is not familiar with the poke in the eye, or a thumb into the thyroid process, you
Right.
know, or a palm heel into the nose, you know, uh,
Or a hammer fist
or a
or
hammer
something.
fist, you know, or just a slap in the face, you know, to wake them up or whatever the case you need to do, you know.
And to, right along that point, I think that that's the advantage that as a martial artist we would have over a boxer. Like,
Right.
where they can throw a jab and a cross, we can maybe throw a jab and a ridge hand. Boxers aren't used to blocking ridge hands.
Right.
That's a weird angle. They come this way. I mean, they can come at
Hmm.
some funky angles,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe blocking and knife handing someone in the rib cage, or
Yeah.
hammer fisting them in
Yeah.
the rib cage, or
Yeah.
shoot, even chopping on the inside of the arm. That
The,
hurts.
the bicep
Oh yeah.
or the forearm muscle there, yeah, that
Uh
hurts.
huh. Just
But you got to remember though, when the person is adrenalized, they may not feel it so much at that moment. Later
right.
on, they will. But you have to know those shots that's going to stop them right there in the spot. You know, shot to the throat, shot to the nads, you know, shot to the solar plexus. That's why you have to know anatomy.
right.
You know.
I think the key to the stuff I was talking about before, like the radial nerve and the radial and the ulna and all this kind of stuff,
Hmm. Hmm.
is you don't let it get to the point where the person gets that adrenalized state. I mean, think about how many fights you've seen where it's like da-da-da-da, and it escalates, and then
Escalates,
one
yes.
guy's adrenalized, ready to fight, where it's like,
Right.
hey man, leave me alone. What if I?
Done.
You smash him in the bicep,
Mm-hmm.
or knife hand him the bicep. Then it'll have a whole different effect because he's still in mid trash talk.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
and
You know, think about this. Now, I've never trained with uh, commandos and all that kind of stuff. But do you think, in your wildest dreams, that a well-trained Navy SEAL or Army Ranger, somebody would go in there and say, "Okay, come on, let's put him up"? No, they don't do that.
and that
You know, if they have no weapon at all, their hands and their feet are their weapons. So they're not gonna go in there and try to, say, "Okay, we're gonna duke it at round one." No, 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 no. Bang, 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 done. Done. Over with.
and they aim for the kind of targets that are
Yeah.
conducive to ending a
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, because you got other people to hurt. So you don't spend all that time, on this one person. So you know
Right.
exactly where you're going. That's
It sounds funny, but that's true. If you look at a lot of what they do, they headbutt, they elbow in close. They're doing all this kind of stuff,
right.
and
They cover the spectrum of the different various martial arts, as I was mentioning earlier. Judo, jiu-jitsu, aikido, boxing, kicking. You cover study all that, so you don't spend all your time getting sweaty and carrying on trying to beat this guy up. Hey man, boom, 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 done. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Or at least make them not want to continue.
Make them not want to continue. Yeah.
It's like da da da. It's like, okay, well, if you want to do this, we can, but you're not gonna walk out of here the same way you walked in. So
Right.
if you got to go there, let's go there.
Right, right. But and also too, that's when, as I said before, if you let that monster out of the bag, can you call it back? You see. So you shoot him to the throat, hook to the jaw, hook to the temple, uppercut, kick him in the nads, throw him down on the ground, then you stomp his head. Oh, come on, man! You gotta have. There's a sense of humanity there that you have to develop too.
Right.
So,
Right. You can't go out there and just start wailing on someone just because you can. You gotta
Right.
show some
Right.
kind of
some kind of humanity. If the situation calls for something like that, then yeah,
go for it.
yeah, go for it. But you got some crazy guy just walking up and down the street grabbing on people. Well, that doesn't mean that you have to kill him.
Right.
You just keep him from bothering you. Just
Right.
go away.
Yeah.
You know?
I think people would have a more refined sense of that if they practice their basic techniques, or even the basic concepts, not necessarily techniques. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
More vigorously. I think people always want to go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
When that book The Outliers came out, Malcolm Gladwell says it either takes 10 years, 10,000 reps, or 10,000 hours to get good at a skill. To truly, I can't remember if he said master skill, but something like that. And so, people went out there and started doing their 10,000s, but it's like in the good old days, that only took a month or so. They threw it, 1,000, I think, who did I talked to? I talked to this old Korean instructor. He said in Korea they did 1,000 punches and 500 kicks every single class. And so if you look at it like that, and they're training 6 days a week, it's like, damn, that dude threw 3,000 kicks this week. And by the time he got to his 10,000, he was still in his first month. And then you got 20, 30, 40 years of that, and you wonder why they tell you, yeah, just kick him once. Because they only need to kick you once.
Right.
These guys are coming in twice a week.
Yeah, they know how to do it right.
And they get in, 40, 50 kicks, and they're a little tired. It's like they don't dedicate themselves to their craft, and then they wonder why they don't get the results of the people that do.
Right.
Oh man, it's like I just barely